The Washington, D.C. region, SCCA, may be local to the Mid-Atlantic, but that's not stopping their finest from heading to Kent, England for another overseas contest. Australia's Oran Park last week, England's Brands Hatch this week, and a bunch of hungry race car drivers to do battle. Welcome to Round 6. Welcome back to the Washington, D.C. region, SCCA Virtual Racing League. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, joined this evening by the one and the only Connor Horn. So Connor, the series pushes on, and this evening, we'll be taking a ride through the forest, over the creek, and to Victory Lane. Only some will go.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. I love Brands Hatch. It's one of the more fun road courses I've ever driven on. I drove it a lot in Forza. I haven't driven it as much in iRacing, but I've had a lot of good battles here over the years in sim racing. This is one of the more fun tracks, one of the more racy tracks, even though it's only 2.3 miles in length.
It is rather racy. That is a good way to put it, I think. It doesn't matter what cars you bring here. I feel like you're going to have a good race. It doesn't matter how many cars, what cars, or anything like that. Brands Hatch just promotes really, really good racing, and that's what we're going to see this evening. I think as per usual here with this series, of course, Mustangs are up first. TCR is here in a little bit. Even after last week's race at Oran Park Raceway, Andrew Pallotta still on top of the standings. Break that one down for me.
Yeah, he's had a pretty solid season. He's been the guy to beat these Mustangs for the most part. Didn't show up last week, as we saw. DJ Alessandrini made only his second appearance in the Mustang Series this season, and he took another checkered flag to go along with it, pretty convincingly, I might say. And even through all that, Pallotta didn't really have any other of his championship rivals show up, so he really didn't really cost himself too much. So he's still top of the leaderboard by 16 points. That'd be 16 points over Ken Hauseal. Both of those guys are here tonight. Camden Gruber, third place, 21 points back. Right now, Pallotta looks pretty darn fast. Just went pole at 136.484, over half a second faster than anyone else who's put a lap down.
Yeah, as you mentioned that he's top of the board in the point standings. He went top of the board here in qualifying over Jake King, Ken Hauseal, Camden Gruber, and some others. It looks like 11 cars checked in so far this evening for our 20-minute Mustang race. And here's a look then at the number 96 car working through Surtees and headed down to, I call this the forest section. That's what it feels like to me. I don't think that's at all officially what this whole kind of addition to the track is called, but when you leave the Indy circuit, Connor, it really feels just like you're entering the forest.
It's pretty much what it is. I mean, that's the vibe I get from it, as it's just a completely different sort of scenery around you. Makes you feel a little bit different. Might put you off a little bit going through the forest like that as Pallotta's coming through. He's actually already finished all 3 of his laps, just getting some practice laps. Not many more drivers have any more laps to put down. Hauseal's put down all 3. Jake King is just finishing his 3rd lap. He's put down a 137.018. He's 3rd right now. Don't know if he'll move up, but all these guys are going to have a lot of practice to do. Not a track they're likely accustomed to.
Here's a look at Keterakis, and you're right. This is, I think, definitely a little bit different for these guys, as Keterakis is going to work through Dingledell. And you know what? I appreciate that it's Brands Hatch so soon after I had some other broadcast Brands Hatch literally last week. I'm actually familiar with the circuit. Sometimes, like Oran Park last week, that was a bit of a curveball for me, especially subbing in for Kyle. But I know this place a little bit. I'm familiar with the corner names. I don't know if you are, but this is... Well, you'll learn. I promise. Throughout the course of the night, I'll play teacher a little bit.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So Keterakis comes across the line, gets a first-time lap. Actually, it is his first-time lap that's counted. He ran others, and it looks like got off tracks, and he will go 9th on the board. Deacon Greenfield yet to turn a time. Mark Labance in the same boat. With 2 minutes left, they likely will not. Here's a look at the number 11, though, of Todd Rushing.
Trying to look Todd Rushing. He's also done with all 3 of his laps. A few drivers already done with all 3 laps, just trying to get some practice. Todd Rushing was not too low on the leaderboards. Actually, he did not get a practice lap in, so this is his practice session for the most part. Same for Eddie Keterakis, who put down his times. That qualifying session was practice for him, as a few drivers still on track trying to learn the track.
And Rushing's actually the final one out there with just under 2 minutes to go. Camden Gruber is logged into his car, be able to go back out there. But actually, I don't think he can get back out there. I think he's...
Oh.
Well, it says lap 3, so maybe he's only completed 2 of his 3 laps. He actually could, but everybody else is officially done with their qualifying runs. They're out of their car and calling that a day. Now, Todd Rushing is done as well. As we kind of mentioned, he's just running these extra laps, and here we go through Clark. We'll see what kind of run he can get. Let's check in with the actual onboard speed. I'm interested to see what he's up to by Paddock Hill Bend if he sticks with it.
Thought I was seeing speeds over 110 miles per hour. We'll see if he can get the 120, creeping up there, inching up there. Does barely get the 120. Actually hit 121 for a moment before he had to get down into turn number 1.
Down Panic Hill Bend, he'll go to Druids, and oh, that bit of damage over the curbing turned the headlights off. So if this session actually runs a little bit late, we could see these guys lose the advantage of having headlights just by damage there. It's something weird with these Mustang FRS or FR500Ss on iRacing. I don't know what it is, but the little bit of damage you can get to the nose, you see that little bit of damage from the curbing, it tends to shut the lights off.
It's a very odd one. Someone needs to check the wiring on that car for that little hit to take the lights out for some reason. That's a big bit of damage for that curb. It doesn't seem so menacing, that curb, but it is a potential hazard. You can damage that front end, and it can really hurt your cornering speed for the most part. Obviously, a little bit of straight line speed. You're not going to use too much here, but you got to be careful over those curbs because you're going to be using a lot of curbing on the exits of the majority of these turns.
Or at least what there is, right? You get that little bit of runoff, and a lot of it's just kind of turf there that you can use into Dingle Dell now, and really you have the curbing on the inside there that you can hit, not so much on exit. That will do it for qualifying, though. 11 cars ready to go for our 20-minute race here with the Mustang. So let's get right down to it then. Connor, up front on pole, Andrew Pilata. I don't think that's at all a surprise. And you know what? As I mentioned, subbing in for Kyle, it makes me have to look for graphics sometimes. Starting grid. I found it, I promise. Andrew Pilata on pole with the number 96. Ken House-Steele will roll off from second place. Starting third, you'll find Jake King. Fourth, Camden Gruber in that 24 car. I'm excited to see how this second row does, honestly. I'm really excited to see what they can bring to the table and how they can change this race up. To finish out the top half of the field here, Connor, we will find car number 1 of Peter Lausen and car number 89 of Kyle Herbst.
And let's go to the second half of the field. You got Todd Rushing getting those practice laps in qualifying. He starts 7th. Adam Kovac right beside him in the P8 position. Eddie Katarakis, the final qualifier, with a 141.9. He starts P9, and then right alongside him should be Deacon Greenfield, and then Mark LeBanks, who also didn't put a time down. He's 11th.
Yeah, so there's small discrepancy there with the lineup, but it looks like LeBanks will line up in that 11th spot. You're absolutely right, and he is not gridded up just yet. And Rushing, slow to get that car started, now will get off the line and get rolling. So these guys can, of course, get their lap coming up to the green flag, and it is dark. It is very, very dim here at Brands Hatch. Let's take a look at the weather for this race. Tire temps, I don't think that's going to be much of a concern. Track temp is only 67 degrees Fahrenheit. That is just under 20 degrees Celsius. That is nice and cool.
It's nice and cool. I think the drivers will appreciate that after what we saw in Australia last week. Oran Park, what was it, 130 track temps?
126, I think, yeah.
It was pretty high. They had to change the weather for the TCR race to try to help the racing a little bit because no one could really keep their car on the track because of how slidey it was. That shouldn't be an issue today.
And wind, not a concern either. A little bit sticky out there, 53.17% humidity. Nothing too crazy, and it looks like, yeah, that sun does appear to be setting behind the home stretch there, behind Clark. And, oh boy, that's going to be interesting then, if it really is setting as opposed to rising. And, I mean, it looks like it's gotten a lot darker.
Yeah, in sim time's about 8 o'clock, so...
PM?
PM,
oh,
yes.
Boy.
So
This will be fun.
we will have to see how dark it will get in a 20-minute span. I think we should be able to get maybe about 13 or so laps in. Don't know the correct estimate. I know you would have it on tap, but not going to have too much time. Sort of like last week. Not going to have too much time to make moves.
Looking like 13 laps for these guys. And, Adam Kovac around on the pace lap. The Redshift competition Ford Mustang goes around, and he'll have to get that car righted. He should have time to get back up to a starting spot, but that's not what you want to have. So, Andrew Pilata going to lead us down to the green. That iRacing pace car is going to have to get out of the way pretty quick.
Yeah, Kovac, that's not how you want to start. You want to warm the tires up, not light them on fire. Just a little bit too eager on the gas. No damage, though. No one hit him. They should be fine. Like you said, should have time to get back up there. Interested to see what this first lap is going to look like. Pilata's going to be hard to beat. House-Steele might have to pounce very early.
Into Clark Curve for the final time before letting this field of 10 Mustangs go. Mark LeBance may make it 11. Pace car is in, waiting on the signal to go green here at Brands Hatch. Andrew Pilata gets that signal. Green flag is in the air for 20 minutes. Pilata leading the charge down Patakill Bend, side by side for second. Halcyon outside, Jake King inside into Druids.
Yeah, Ken Halcyon kind of just caught out there. Nothing he can do being on the outside, excuse me, for the first two sets of corners. He'll have drivers left this time. He'll be able to clear for second. Jake King tries to crossover. Halcyon slides and spins.
Doesn't hit anything. Good catch there out of Ken Halcyon, but he does drop down to the 10th spot. Dead last now in the order. Pilata leading out front, Jake King second. And that's going to promote Camden Gruber to a podium spot just ahead of Kyle Herbst in a good battle between Lausen and Rushing.
Yeah, those two pretty much bumper to bumper. Rushing trying to get through the gears a little bit quicker, see if he can have a look into the next corner. Looks outside. No opportunity inside. He'll just have to stay in line.
Look at that lead already for Pilata. He is setting sail. That is why he's the championship leader. I mean, he is gone already into Westfield. Just gone.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. No one close to him. He put down a lot of practice laps to own his skills. He put down about, I'd say, 11 total practice laps, 11 complete laps. He was on the track for a little bit longer, but he's definitely showing his muscle right now. Everyone single files out. A little bit of contact in the back. Peter Lausen's gone around off the front bumper. I believe that was Todd Rushing.
Peter Lausen then in trouble on the outside of Sterling, gets back onto the racetrack and will head back after it. Deacon Greenfield checks up a little bit with Ken Halcyon, and leading lap one, Pilata.
Yeah, Pilata, not really a surprise there, and also not a competition. In one lap, puts himself in a 2-second lead over Jake King, which is pretty impressive to do. Battle for third, though, Gruber and Herbst side by side.
Herbst on that inside in the Captain Crunch number 89. Gruber on the outside now for Druids. What can he do out there? Well, he's going to slide back into fourth now. No contest.
Todd Rushing a slide out of turn one, doesn't hit anything. We stay pretty clear. Everyone sort of surprising. The temps are pretty low on the track, but a lot of slipping and sliding already.
Well, cold tires then. You go from hot tires being the concern to cold tires being the concern, and building tire temps as opposed to, pushing those tire temps a little too high. So I think cold tires certainly. And you know what? Patakill Bend is I think the best corner you're going to have for getting sideways, which obviously then is the worst because you're going to get sideways and you're going to spin. So Patakill Bend is going to be tough, even on the TCRs later on.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what the TCRs do through there. That might be a whole different, obviously it's going to be a whole different challenge, but we'll see how the grip is there. Just trying to look through the field. Been pretty spread out after the few incidents we've had. Pilata still maintaining that pretty big lead. Jake King solidly in second. Herbst and Gruber side, not side by side, but very close to each other for the final podium spot.
And this is the only battle right now. There is a battle maybe a little further back with Kovac and Halcyon. They're starting to get a little bit closer, and oh boy, if Herbst keeps doing that and using the compressor in Sterling as to get back into power, he's going to be definitely setting sail here from Camden Gruber. So he'll open up the legs and open up that gap a little bit. There's a look at Kovac. That's a lot of damage to the nose of the car.
That is a lot of damage. Not sure where that happened. It had to have been on the first lap, but not too early in the first lap. That's surely going to be really hurting his performance in the straights and just not going to have very good quartering speed. I think he might have gotten into the back of Todd Rushing. Looks like Rushing might have the damage to fit that description.
Look at Kovac now as he works into the Druids, and he is definitely losing time here to Halcyon. Halcyon with that spin on lap one. Of course, he would like to get back into this race properly, but it's going to be tough.
If I'm not mistaken, he also spun from, I believe, one of the top two positions at Circuit of the Americas when the Mustangs were here. So just a compound of mistakes are costing him pretty important positions for the championship as he dives to the inside there a little bit late, but he had the positioning on Kovac and obviously has the pace advantage to make that work.
That was a good move in Surtees, but he's going to give up a lot of straight line speed here. Well, I say that, but I think the 85 is wounded enough that he's actually going to pull the 85 a little bit to Hawthorne Bend, and really won't be much of a concern after that. So he's going to have to set sail now for Camden Gruber. And Gruber and Herbst are going to get back after it maybe.
Yeah, Herbst just can't find a way to pull away for that third position. Gruber just able to stay on his coattails here, just riding in his tire tracks, able to maybe corner a little bit later and is able to get better exits than Herbst in a few corners. But once he gets closer to that 89 Captain Crunch Mustang, he just can't seem to make it work and complete any attempt at a pass as Herbst went a little bit wide there. Gruber closed in a little bit more.
Well, further back in the field, Keterakis and Rushing are going to come together, it looks like. Two damaged cars, you can tell by the fact they don't have headlights on. And they've both been center punched in the rear as well. So, very identical looking bits of damage there. Rushing to the inside of Sterling. Keterakis lets him go on by. Back up front, though, Pilata, your race leader, by some 2.5, almost 3 seconds.
Pretty much a clinic so far. No mistakes quite yet. Running consistent lap times in a sort of high 36 range. No one's really even touching that. Jake King's last time was pretty fast, but still not even really close to matching Andrew Pallotta.
The top four are at least close enough together to all fit on the Cooper straight, so I'll give them that. That little run between Graham Hill Bend at the bottom of the hill and right there in Surtees, they can all fit on that straightaway for now, but how much longer will Herbst and Gruber actually be able to see Pallotta the leader? I don't think much longer. That 96 is just so good.
Yeah, he's just so consistent as well. It's not just that he has outright pace advantage maybe for a lap at a time. He's able to consistently keep that time up. He's able to apex perfectly. He maximizes his exits as well. Just overall smooth on the throttle, smooth on the brakes. No, not really making mistakes under shifting. Just a perfect drive so far.
I really do enjoy statics. Watching these guys pop the curbing, whip through the forest like this, and a little bit of natural banking you get like that. Right there in Sterling, I think, is where you really get that natural banking here at Brands Hatch. It's just a lot of fun to watch these guys from these static cams.
Yeah, it's very fun to see him rip around here. It's not too hard to rip in a Mustang because it kind of just gets sideways on its own, but it's always a pleasure to watch these guys sort of wheel these things when they have to. It's pretty darn fun.
So your top four continuing to do business. Deacon Greenfield and Peter Lausen might have a battle here. They're back there in the 7th and 8th positions, respectively. There's a look at Greenfield with Lausen just behind in that orange number 1. Lausen with a little bit of damage. And again, the way we can tell that is the lack of headlights on that orange number 1 car. So he will try and get a little bit closer to Greenfield. Nails the apex compared to Greenfield way out there. So good run through 1 for Lausen.
Yeah, we need to check the wiring on these things. He has rear end damage and the front headlights are out, so not quite sure what's going on there.
What, you mean you don't wire your headlights through the rear bumper?
I wouldn't say I would. That's not my preference, but that's just me. You know, I don't question the mechanics on these engines.
I mean, if I were to run a Mustang, I would certainly run the wiring for the headlights all the way from the dash, through the front bumper, through each of the doors, all the way back to the rear bumper. Let's go ahead and strand it across the wing, maybe. And right back up to the headlights. You know, you want to make the full round around the race car. You know.
I mean, if you really want to be cheap, I think you could just get rid of them altogether and just see how that works out. I mean, NASCAR doesn't need headlights or taillights, so.
Richard Hammond, a couple of flashlights on the hood.
Yeah, it could work too. Maybe you could, drive one hand, flashlight on the other. You know.
No. You tape them. That's the Richard Hammond way, I think. But still watching the onboard here with Peter Lausen in 8th. Now, it looks like there was a mistake that time out of Jake King, but he's gotten back going. He lost time, but didn't, I don't think he slid or spun or anything. Maybe just went off a little bit. Maybe right here out of Sterling's, potentially. But I'm excited to see if Lausen can pressure Greenfield either into a mistake or some kind of opening here. This could be a good little battle for 7th, and right there, Clark Curve. I mean, he's getting close.
Yeah, he is getting close. Look back. I don't think Jake King made a mistake. I think he's just losing a little bit of pace. 10th slower than Gruber and Herbst that time by, but this battle for 7th is heating up. Lausen looking to be outside as Greenfield. A little bit defensive into turn number 1.
Looking back from Greenfield's rear bumper. Now we know the wiring here, it's going to get crushed if Lausen does push the issue here and get into him. Oh, endurance!
Oh, no.
Oh, he got close. Bit of I think maybe the slightest bit of a slide through the center of the corner there for Greenfield. Gets back after it and hangs on to that spot. Graham Hill Bend now just shy of halfway through this race.
Greenfield's headlights live on, just barely. Lausen really sent it there, but just wasn't able to get any position to be inside, and glad he didn't make contact. It would have been a pretty big accident for both those guys. Lausen definitely has the pace advantage right now, has a little bit of a run here coming down the hill.
Where does Lausen make the move? And Hawthorne's, yes, he's going to take a look to the inside, right down to the apex curbing. Almost contact between the Bridgestone 1 and the Logitech 32, but they keep racing. All's fair in love and war. A good dive into Westfield. Greenfield get across and back.
Don't know if he's going to have positioning. He might have to stick the nose in there and have a chance of getting back by him. He is going to go aggressive. He does back out of it, though, which is likely the smart move. Great stuff.
Greenfield didn't want to go down without a fight, but also wanted to be smart. They're only halfway through this race. Finishing up lap number 7, coming to lap... these guys are finishing up lap number 6, coming to lap 7. So properly right at halfway for these two. They don't want to get into any kind of tussle. They don't want to have any kind of, extra damage moving forward, especially when these guys might be getting close and might be having a battle. 2nd through 4th, Jake King, Kyle Herbst, and Camden Gruber.
Don't look too far back, but Ken Alseal's half a second faster than both of them right now. It was actually the fastest car on the track. He was about a tenth and a half to 2/10 faster than Andrew Pallotta himself. Just like Coda, you know, what could have been if he didn't spin out at an inopportune time in turn number 1. He's chasing down all these guys right now. The battle for the podium's heating up.
On board now with Kyle Herbst, or not Kyle Herbst, Camden Gruber, rather. There we go. I'll get those words out eventually. These guys are about 5 seconds back of Pallotta at this point. There's no catching that 96 car. At this point, you just got to limit damage, and especially if you're Jake King, you cannot lose second place.
Yeah, Jake King, he just has not had the long run pace so far. As these tires start to wear a little bit, it just seems like he's not getting through the corners as well as the guys behind him, Herbst, Gruber, and even Ken Alseal. So right now, he's just kind of trying to find something right now, really hop the curb, trying to gain any time he could on that 89 machine behind him. Starting to fall back, though. He's going to have to do some defending by the end of this one.
And if you circle back to the points here, Jake King is 2 spots ahead of Kyle Herbst. That is a 16-point discrepancy currently. But King is actually quite close to Gruber. 15, well, I say quite close, 15 points ahead to Gruber. So this is actually pretty important for King to be ahead of both of these guys. And actually, problems for Gruber. I didn't even notice we were watching on board with Jake King, and I was looking at points. Gruber's lost 4th spot now behind Alseal.
He went really slowly through Sterling's. I'm not sure why. He didn't really get sideways, just lost a lot of speed. Ken Alseal got by him.
Could he have cut a corner and got a slowdown?
Did not see where he would have cut a corner, but it is possible maybe clipped a curb too harshly and contributed to that. Maybe even a corner before, because you can easily, I think it's Dinkeldale corner, I think you can really cut that curb on accident.
Yep, there's a good pad there of curbing. You're absolutely right. That's about the only place I can see him doing it.
Yeah, I think I actually did look back at it. He got none of the 4 tires were on that curb. He cut that corner completely, so that had to have been a slowdown, and unfortunately it's going to give up the spot to Alseal.
And yeah, that was the perfect delta going into that. To lose that time, it was just about 2 seconds, maybe a little bit less at that point by the time we had the mistake there from Camden Gruber. So this is actually pretty big. Alseal's second in points. Gruber is 3rd. And that pass, it looks like, was actually made last week at Orland Park, where Alseal took the 2nd spot in the point standings and moved ahead of Camden Gruber. So this actually has some championship implications as we're working round 6 of 8.
It's a tough mistake to make, but he's obviously still got the pace. He's been able to stay with Alseal. Not quite ready yet to make another move to get that position back. He might just have to tuck in behind Alseal and hope he can lead him back to those 2nd and 3rd place cars as those two get closer and closer to a battle.
Well, how hard does Alseal push here? Now that you've got an extra spot, do you actually wear these tires out, or do you just safely stay ahead? I mean, you don't want to try and get too much, right? You don't want to try and bite off more than you can chew.
No, you don't, but at the same time, you're coming down, I think, only 6.5 minutes left. You don't have too many laps left. If you want a chance at that podium, you kind of got to go. He's about 3.5 seconds behind Kyle Herbst, and right now, Herbst is right on the bumper of Jake King, starting to battle for those 2 positions, those 2 are. So if they start the battle, Alseal's got to pounce at some point.
I'm glad you mentioned these 2. I was starting to look at that delta getting much, much closer. King's still losing time to Pallotta ahead, but Herbst, not so much. He's kind of maintaining that gap while catching, of course, Jake King here. And we might be having some cap and crunch here in a second between these 2. It's going to get very close, and with time running out, you've got to take any opportunity you can find. It doesn't matter if the corner seems tight. You've got to go for it.
Yeah, you definitely have to go for it, but Herbst's not quite close enough to make any sort of, not even a late dive or anything, as these 2 are pretty much ahead of the 4th and 5th place cars. Eddie Katarakis has retired from the race. Didn't see why, but the one and only retirement so far. Everyone else still on the lead lap, still on track, as these 2. This is going to be an interesting battle for the podium. Jake King, not sure how many podiums he's had all season long. He's been at the front. I don't think he's been able to close the deal many times.
He's got 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s. Decently stronger, I'd say, to the midpoint of the season, and now working towards the final few races. I don't think Alseal's going to get here, but he's certainly going to give it a shot, I'd say. He has definitely left Camden Gruber in the dust a little bit. Lausen and Greenfield, they're still close, but Lausen maintains that position of 7th. And Pallotta well up the road, in fact, now about 7 seconds. These 2 are really starting to slow down, really starting to lose that pace. And hey, maybe that does open the door here in a moment for Ken Alseal to get that spot back, or get these spots back.
Yeah, King and Herbst a full second behind Andrew Pallotta that time by, and Alseal was a second faster than both of them. Once again, he was faster than Andrew Pallotta. Herbst to the bumper of Jake King, almost contact for that position.
On board the nose cam here with Kyle Herbst. So if he gets close again, especially in Surtees or Hawthorne, we'll be able to see it real nicely. Westfield might be a good place to try and make a pass. Obviously, Hawthorne with the stretch coming up to it, as this is Surtees. Hawthorne's the next corner, but if you can't do it there, maybe you lay a bumper.
Yeah, that or just wait until maybe the front stretch even, or the final corner of the circuit to try.
Well, I don't know if you want to pass in Clark or Paddock Hill. If you have to, you have to. But I don't know.
I'm always a fan of the move there. On fours, though, is my favorite passing corner. I didn't really care who got moved off the track. You got to make the move wherever you can, and Herbst is looking right now.
Halcyon closing in.
Very fast, I might add.
Oh, yeah, he is definitely. I mean, he's down to 1.8 seconds to these guys in closing. Through Dingledell there.
I'm going to need to ask you what a Dingledell actually is.
You know, that might be a conversation we have to save for another time. I'm not sure. It doesn't sound great, but, well, I guess it's a corner at Brands Hatch. There's Dingledell, and then there's Dingledell Bend. I don't know exactly where that would have come from. But here we go. Nose to tail. Do we see a move in Paddock Hill? Certainly not yet. I think you saved that kind of move for one of the last couple of laps, but here we go. To the outside, maybe he'll try it.
He might try the over-under here, maybe put Jake King off the line, get to the inside for turn number 2, but King very protective at that inside line, making Herbst go the long way around. They'll be side by side here.
Good moves there from both drivers. Oh, and Herbst sideways. Hang on to it, buddy. He does, but he roasted that left rear. Most of the smoke coming off of the inside tire, though, of that slide, so the right rear may be a little warmer. It's kind of interesting. He'll get back after it. You see, oh, lights properly popping on now. The taillights are coming on. We're getting down to it.
Definitely getting dark now. Stakes are getting a little higher when the lights come on. Herbst is going to have to try to find somewhere else to make that move, because we saw there Jake King very protective. He is not going to let Kyle Herbst go around on the inside, so King might have to change up, Herbst will have to change up his strategy, maybe find somewhere else to make that move outside the inside.
Cue the Johns theme.
Yeah, at the same time, he's going to have to fend off this 23 because he is so much faster than both these drivers as they start the battle. Herbst once again back to the bumper of Jake King.
Yeah, we'll get 2 to go this time by. Riding on board there for a moment with Ken Halcyon, go back up to Kyle Herbst and company. Jake King hanging on to that second spot, but only just. And I really do mean only just. Andrew Pilata well up the road, already into Clark Curve, and actually out of Clark Curve now. He will take the 2 to go signal. As there he goes. I mean, it's just a bit of a, well, certainly a quiet race for him, but in the best of ways. He's out front, leading every lap, and leading it by a mile as well. As here we go. Do we see a move in Druids again?
I don't think he's close enough. He might just try to lay on his bumper a little bit here. If you're going to put the bumper to anyone here, this is likely the corner to do it. We'll see how far he wants to send it under braking. He's going to send it pretty far, but not getting to the bumper. I think King went a little deeper into the corner to be a little bit protective. King slides a little bit. Halcyon closes in.
No crunches just yet. All captain. Maybe all berries? Oops, all berries. Does that work? Anyways, down to Surtees will go. It's just going to be tough. I think you might have to make the move here at Hawthorne. A good run through Surtees. He runs a bit wide, but he's going to have a good run on him. To the left side, he will go. And that's going to bring Ken Halcyon properly into this. He's got the draft now, side by side.
Yeah, Herbst, he got better. He got through the gears better than Jake King. It might make the difference, but King, again, the inside line. He's got to make it work, but Herbst is going to hang it out there. Halcyon's going to be all over these two. They make contact. There's the crunch we were looking for. Herbst has a positioning, but Jake King will not give up. They're going to go 3 wide.
Halcyon to the far inside. He wants to make it 3. He makes it 3. Jake King backs out. Herbst has both spots. As here we go. Halcyon slides into third through Dingledell. Maybe a little bit of contact with King and Halcyon. Oh, my goodness.
That was intense. It's the last place I would have expected 3 wide. They're not going to have many more opportunities to pass, though. Halcyon's on the charge. One more spot to get the P2. Meanwhile, the white flag for Pilata.
Jake King maybe with a slowdown. He'll back out. The white flag is out for race leader Andrew Pilata. We don't want to leave this battle just yet. These two are getting handsy.
Yeah, they're getting pushy, no doubt about it. Jake King definitely cut Dingledell corner, no doubt. This will likely drop him out of that battle for good unless these two clash a little bit. Halcyon much faster. Where does he try to make the move? He doesn't have much time left.
No look into Druids, but he will get right down to the apex, and Herbst a little bit wide. Just opening the door, just ever, that ever little bit. Keeping it, keeping that slide lock. I forget what it's called, but just, that little sniff for Halcyon. He's gonna look maybe into Surtees. He's certainly going to have to set it up out of Surtees for Hawthorne and try and get by this 89 car. Wide in Surtees, he's going for the exit. Car to move here. Does he cross up underneath? He does. A little bit of contact there. Oh, and he just can't quite get the run. Up through the gears goes Kyle Herbst. This is going to be tough.
He's just barely on the right rear. Does he hang there? Does he try the over-under? Herbst is going to have to protect it as hard as he can. Halcyon does send it to the outside. That'll bring Jake King back into a potential fight here. Herbst clears himself on Halcyon's bumper. They're bumper to bumper now.
Halcyon putting all kinds of pressure here on the 89. Do not cut Dingledell. That's what we've learned here today. To the inside. Halcyon's got the inside lane. He's got the spot. And will he get him cleared by Sterling? Touching mirrors, rubbing paint. And the Sterlings will go, and here comes Jake King to the inside. He gets into Halcyon, turns him around, and they'll accelerate out of Sterlings. It's a checkered flag ahead for Pilata. Halcyon turned around and losing spots, and there it is. Andrew Pilata collecting a race win. Kyle Herbst will come on through for second. Jake King will claim third. Wow.
That was not on my bingo card for things to happen on that final lap. Dominating drive for Andrew Pilata, wins it by 5.5 seconds after giving up 4.5 seconds, coasting to the line. Herbst fights for his podium. Jake King, maybe controversial fashion, getting his third place. Gruber fourth, Halcyon fifth.
Heartbreak certainly for Ken Halcyon. That's going to be tough to swallow. Yeah,
that was a tough one. The battle seemed to be between Kyle Herbst and Halcyon at that point, but those side-by-side battles through those kink sort like corners, Jake King had such a run on those guys because he was all on his own. And King, I think, saw an opportunity, got a little bit antsy, a little bit impatient, knowing there was only 2 corners left to make a move, and just a little late under braking. And unfortunately, the innocent bystander, Ken Halcyon there, obviously.
Your Mustang race results then going to look like this. Andrew Pilata up top, and no surprise there, really, when you think about it. Leading the standings, grabs another win. Kyle Herbst will go second out of all of that calamity into Sterling. And you see Jake King there takes third. Gruber slides on through for fourth, able to get that extra spot over Halcyon. So, really, roll back the tape to about mid-race, and the top 5 is about as it was. And Adam Kovac comes home 6th. You see Peter Lausen there in 7th. Deacon Greenfield, Todd Rushing finish out the rest of the running cars. And as you mentioned earlier, Connor, Eddie Katarakis will go ahead and retire that car early. Mark Labance never started the race. So that's one race done. What do we think happens here in just a few minutes for the TCR race?
Well, we just saw chaos with the battle for the podium there. I can only imagine we're going to see even more from the TCRs. These things are going to rip a little bit better through these corners. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to go side by side. That's kind of crazy to say because these Mustangs are, so bulky and kind of bounce around every corner. But I think these TCRs, you have to be precise. You don't really want to be beating and banging like those Mustangs were.
No, you want to be a little more careful of that, certainly. So, we will get ready then for our TCI race. 20 more minutes of racing to go this evening. 13 laps already done and dusted in fantastic fashion. But we do have to kind of get ready, get back into the groove here in just one moment and get ready for race number 2 on the evening. Don't go anywhere. More coverage here on Sim TV on the way. Welcome back to the virtual Brands Hatch Circuit. Glad to be bringing you coverage this evening of round number 6 of the Washington, D.C. Region SCCA Virtual Racing League. Andrew Cardinale here, Connor Horn alongside. We've already seen Mustang racing, Connor, and of course that's how things start usually, but now TCR racing on deck, and things are a little bit different. We don't have that same kind of dark and cloudy aura. Things have changed a little bit, not quite like the B-roll, but you can see clear skies completely. I've not seen that in Britain in ever. And you've got that sunset, so a little bit earlier in the day. I like this vibe. I like this earlier in the evening kind of thing, this golden hour almost. This is nice.
It's going to be not too much of a different race. It won't cool the track down much more than it already was because of how late the sim time is. Still around, I suppose, 8 p.m. sim time. So not going to get too dark. You won't see the lights. And we might still see the lights fully come on, but they won't be as needed as it was in the last race. That's for sure.
You see the weather there on screen? Just about the same. 1 degree higher of track temp, but a little more humidity despite being completely clear skies. And the wind still nice and calm, shouldn't be any kind of concern. So qualifying on track then, we'll go to Will Robbins first off in one of those Grid Life cars. That is a good looking paint scheme. I love those gold rims. That is good.
It's pretty nice, no doubt about it. That pops out pretty nicely at a track like this.
And it kind of does help him that he's got that SimTV decal there on the rear of the car. Finally, some times are checking in. Will Robbins goes second, and now drops down to third. Burkhardt's quick. DJ Alessandrini, no surprise there, he's quick too.
Yeah, no surprise to see him top of the leaderboard right now. 3/10 ahead of Morgan Burkhardt. 131.902 the time to beat. I don't know if you're going to see a lot of people beat Alessandrini. He's been pretty dominant in these TCRs with 3 wins total. 10 points off the points lead behind Morgan Burkhardt. That's really only because Alessandrini hasn't ran all the races and Burkhardt has. So this is going to be a fun battle down to the wire.
On board with DJ as he works through Surtees. He is only on his second lap. Darian Taggart rather goes third. Andrew Pilata fourth. Jack Chrissy goes fifth. Peter Wowsen looking good. He's got a lap time down at the very least. Todd Rushing is out there. In fact, all 15 cars are on track all at once. Let's go ahead and take a look through some of them. Todd Rushing in the number 17. And we've seen a lot of Hondas. We saw that switch last week at Oran Park. And since we've added the Honda and the Hyundai to iRacing here, Connor, it's been very much a Hyundai series. The Audis retained a few drivers, a few diehards, and there we go, one of the Hyundais actually spinning. Not a great ad for it there, but it seems like the Honda has had troubles mostly over curbing, so I'm surprised, especially at a place like Oran Park last week and now Brands Hatch this week, that so many drivers are in these Hondas. There's still a lot of curbs to be hit.
But I think they're confident that they can handle them. These curbs aren't gigantic. There's not really any sausage curbs to look out for. It shouldn't be too big of an issue. If you avoid the curbs, you're going to go faster than going over the curbs, especially on the apexes. You can still use them on exit. They're not going to affect you too much there. And you obviously want to avoid them for the most part inside the corners. That's where you're really going to have trouble, especially in turn 1. You hit that curb, you're going to go flying. But the fast line is to obviously avoid that. And I expect all these drivers in the Hondas to know that and be able to predict when not to be on those curbs.
There's a look at Kyle Herbst. Of course, we saw Kirby claim a few victims last week at Oran Park. We'll see if it's a little more calm for him in this TCR race today. Caleb Patry opting for one of the Hondas this week. As per last week, there's Will Robbins in the 35. We saw his car earlier. Todd Rushing again. And Connor, this is one you're going to have to help me out with. That name. That is... Yeah, that's a name.
That is Wojtek Hajicek, I believe, in the Oreo Honda.
Never could have. Never could have.
Don't worry. You'll be the student for this one. For this name, at least.
Yeah, I can teach you the track name, the corner names. You'll teach me the names of the drivers. Sounds good to me. I like that, actually.
Not compromise. That's good.
Good little trade-off there. Zach Rubin in the number 7 car. I don't think we've taken a look yet at how Seal have. Well, yeah, we did earlier. But there he is in his Gather's Honda. And Morgan Burkhardt. Was Morgan here last week? I don't think he was.
I don't believe he was. Trying to look back at how Seal, that was his only clean lap. His final lap was his only clean lap, but it was a good one. 131.82. Good enough for P3 on the board.
Very good lap there. Pilata's still out there, but a lot of these guys have finished up their run. Zach Rubin goes up to 12th. Deacon Greenfield, I think, the only other driver that hasn't really put any times in. He's run a few laps, but much like his qualifying attempt for the Mustang, a few dirty laps holding it back here. Does he get a clean lap in? No, it doesn't look
Yes.
like it. Oh, he does. Up to 16th.
16th out of 16 total drivers to put down a time of 134.714. I think it was just conservative to put a time down there. The only other driver not to put a time down is Jermaine Major. He did try to for 2 laps, and the 3rd lap must have been dirty as well, so he pulled off. So he will not be able to put a time down.
Now, Morgan Burkhardt leads these standings, even after last week at Oran Park. In fact, he's got a 10-point gap back to DJ Alessandrini. Chrissy is in 3rd, Andrew Pilata 4th, Ken Halseal 5th, Caleb Patry tied actually with Ken Halseal. So your top 5, pretty diverse and pretty spread out as well. In fact, it's a 41-point spread from 1st to 5th.
And a tie for 5th with Halseal and Caleb Patry. So 6 cars total, separated by 41 points. It's a pretty big race for Alessandrini and Burkhardt. They're going to be on the front row if no one else putting down another time. So it's going to be a pretty important dive into turn number 1. Alessandrini's going to have to jump ahead and get in front of Burkhardt because it's going to be a pretty fun battle between these two to the end with the championship of this series.
And both in Hondas, I believe. Now, if anybody was in the Audi, that seems to be the car that gets up through the gears the best. Now, I know we've got rolling starts as opposed to standing starts, so they really get off the line nicely. But even just getting up through the gears and the straight line speed is pretty solid in the Audi. So that would really change things tonight. But I guess nobody opting for it this season. Is a nice little slide there to Todd Rushing, and Zach Rubin is the only car still running.
That was planned by Rushing, no doubt about it. Trying to look, Rubin is on not too far up the road from where Todd Rushing is currently right now.
And he's going to call it a qualifying attempt there. Just out of Graham Hill Bend, right under the Cooper Straight, the number 7 car will pull off to the side and call it quits. Let's go on board then and get a feel for the layout here with the TCR car. Of course, changing things up entirely, right? Completely different platform, completely different ideology with these cars. Front-wheel drive, everything's different.
Time's not too far faster than the Mustangs, though. Maybe about a 5.5, 6 second difference from Mustang times to TCR times. Not as big as an advantage as you might think. Not as much of a horsepower advantage. I think that's really where it gains the time with the TCRs, is maybe a little bit through the corners, not really bulky and bouncing through the corners. They're able to plant through these corners and just have a lot more exit speed to carry that speed into straightaways. So I think that's where you make up a lot of time compared to those Mustangs.
I love what iRacing's done with these race cars. Look at the modeling here of the steering wheel, for example. You don't see that good of modeling for the steering wheels for NASCAR cars. That is properly good stuff there for iRacing and the Honda and the Hyundai and everything they've modeled in recently with these cars. The newer cars obviously getting a little more love than some older ones, but you're going to have that as time goes on. Especially, you talk about some games, for example, on console. They've been around for since 2013 now. I can think of one of them from Rockstar Games. It's been around for a long time. It feels like it's been around forever. It's evolved with the times, right? And even Minecraft, for example, it's been out for a long time as well. And it's evolved throughout the times. It's constantly gotten better, and newer things are done a little better. With iRacing, it's been around even longer than both of those. It's been around since 2008, 2009, and even a little prior to that, of course, building the sim, and obviously it traces back to the Papyrus days, back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So it's pretty incredible, to see that evolution and what we're able to do these days, what iRacing is able to do and give us. Here we go. Let's go through the starting grid for our TCR race this afternoon, evening, wherever you're watching from. DJ Alessandrini, of course, on pole. It's going to be hard to beat that 61. We saw that last week, but if anybody's going to do it, it is going to be Morgan Burkhardt starting from that second position. Starting off third tonight, you'll find Ken Halseal in car 23. Darian Taggart will start fourth. Andrew Pilata rolls off from the fifth spot. It's Kyle Herbst rolling off sixth. And to wrap up my top half of the field here, we have car 85 of Adam Kovac in car 6 of Jack Chrissy.
And then the back half of the field, rounding up the top 10, row number 5, Caleb Patry in the 898 machine. Very spiffy livery on that machine. Wojtek Hajicek, the Oreo Honda. Get it right, Andrew. He starts P10. Peter Lauzon right alongside in a Doritos machine. Looking pretty tasty, I might add. He's starting 11th. Will Robbins in that beautiful Grid Life Sim TV livery. He's going to be P12. Todd Rushing with a 133.028. Saw him have some struggles in the Mustang class. He'll start P13 alongside Zach Rubin in P14. Two of those guys with very similar times. And the last 3 starters for tonight's race, Camping Gruber, who had a pretty good top 5 run in the Mustangs. Not a great qualifying effort today. He'll have time to make up in 15th. Deacon Greenfield struggled a little bit as well. He'll be 16th. And the only driver to not put a time down, Jermaine Major, he'll start 17th place. All 17 drivers who logged into this race will start on the grid.
Glad to be here, Connor. I really am. Especially with your nice little quips there about Wotech. I'm quite glad, actually. You know, Kyle Heyer could call upon just about anybody on iRacing that he wanted to. He's got a lot of connections out there, so I am definitely thankful and honored that Kyle Heyer so often calls upon me to sub in. Sub in for SimTV? There we go. You know, he asked me to sub in, but sometimes English, not my strong suit. I don't know what it is.
It's tough. You hate to see it.
You do. Yeah, you do, definitely. 17 cars, they're all pacing. Nobody in this race that checked in and is not going to start. It looks like, yeah, that weather conditions holding steady. Maybe slightly higher wind speeds. And I noticed a couple of Audis in the back of the field. Jermaine Major seems to be in one of them. Here he is. So watch for these particular Audis. It looks like Camden Gruber, one of the other Audis out there. Watch for these guys to have some straight line speed, especially into Hawthorne that we just went through, and maybe even on the front stretch. They could actually get some passes that you wouldn't expect.
We'll have to wait and see. They are the only two Audis in the field, and Gruber had pace in the Mustangs. Didn't have the qualifying effort he probably wanted in these TCRs, and we'll see if he can drag that Audi to the front. You have straight line speed in these Audis, but you don't have a lot of time to use them, so that run into turn number 1, you're going to have to use everything you got pretty much.
Checking out some onboards here with Jack Chrissy. Let's check out the rear bumper of Andrew Pilato's machine, looking back on Adam Kovac and everybody else. And from the front bumper of DJ Alessandrini. Isn't that a good view? That's what you want to see at the start of these races, and hopefully the end of these races as well, Connor. Clean racetrack, just the iRacing.com safety car out there in the way of the number 61. Morgan Burkhardt joins him on the front row. 17 cars in total, 20 minutes going to begin in just a few more moments. Waiting on the green flag signal from Barney the flagman, and we are racing at Brands Hatch. 2x2 most of the field. A little bit of contact, a little bit of smoke down Paddock Hill Bend, but everybody nicely and safely into Druids.
That was Caleb Patry and Adam Kovac getting together. They were able to save it. Patry was a little bit more smoke out of the next corner. Everyone's still trying to get away from each other, I would say, just trying to find a spot in line to try to sort of get in a groove. Got to spin back there a little bit. Nope, looks like everyone saved it. Still some 2x2 action. That's Andrew Pilata and Darian Taggart going side by side.
Alessandrini getting away cleanly, Burkhardt as well. Even how Steele Pilata is that first battle, as you mentioned, along with Darian Taggart. Here's a look at it. Taggart hanging there on the left side. To Hawthorne will get single file, though. Very early in a 20-minute race. I know 20 minutes doesn't feel like a whole lot, but it definitely is. 14 laps coming up for these cars. It's going to be a bit of a long race.
I'd say 20 minutes is still a little bit of a stretch. Oh, we got to be patient. Kyle Herbst wasn't patient. Contact. Taggart's into the guardrail, into the tire barrier.
A massive hit. Kirby eats him up and spits him out, certainly. Burkhardt, a big slide there out of Dingledell. Gets it sort of back out for Sterling, rather. And look at that 96, tracking out into the dirt, Pilata.
Yeah, that's one thing we're going to see different. We didn't really see the Mustang sliding when they went through the grass. They kind of just bulldozed through it. But if you put a rear tire in the grass on exit, you're going to slide and you're going to have to save that thing.
1 lap complete. Race leader Alessandrini. A few others coming across the line. Well, everybody else coming across the line. Some battles throughout the field, though. As here we go. Back to Paddock Hill Bend. Look at this. Patry and Chrissy side by side.
Chrissy really sent it up the inside, close to the inside wall as you can get without making contact with the wall, to the inside of Patry through 1. He's able to complete it through turn 2.
Nose to tail now. And Greenfield with a battle here with Jermaine Major. No. Gets ahead of Will Robbins, and it looks like... Falls to Jermaine Major. I'm learning these paint teams back here. And Will Robbins now going to have a look at the 32 car.
A little bit of a battle for second. Burkhardt and Halseal, so we're doing some 2-car tandem drafting. Saw it at the Daytona 500. You usually wouldn't see it at Brands Hatch. Halseal didn't really want to pass in that section of a track, though. You
say you wouldn't see it at Brands Hatch, but with the Miata racing you get sometimes here, I don't know. You just might.
Fair point.
Now, I'd imagine these two are going to try and work together, right? You want to go up there and see if you can chase Alessandrini. There are a few good opportunities to draft and actually work together as a pair. So I would not be at all surprised to see Burkhardt and Halseal stay in this order, even leapfrog a little bit, and just slowly work together and see if they can chip away at Alessandrini's lead.
Andrew Pilata does some yard work there through the grass a little bit. Co-opetition, I think Kyle would call it every time we get into one of these situations. It seems like It seems like it's always competition against DJ Alessandrini because he's always dominating these races. We always see second and third place potentially working together to get to him. This week it's Burkhardt and Seal. Probably won't be the last time they're in this situation against Alessandrini, but you really have no choice. If you battle, he's going to get away and he's going to be able to save his tires and he's not going to have to worry about anything. If you just stay in line, single file, maybe you two can work on something in the straightaways and get by. Maybe slingshot, not at this track specifically, but it's a tactic for sure. You stay in line here, maybe you have a shot at Alessandrini, but just battling for that second position, you're just going to let him go.
Good little battle here through Graham Hill Bend. Rushing a little bit slow there. Wotek has a look to the inside. And Will Robbins and Jermaine Major getting after a little bit of contact there. My goodness.
The scraps are good all the way throughout the field, from first place all the way to the 14th position. Major had to fight to get that position back.
Here we go, a couple of pink cars after it. Chrissy with a run here on Herbst. This will go down to Hawthorne. Yeah, battles throughout the entire field. This is good stuff.
Great job, Chrissy. He really sent it in that corner. Herbst a little wide into the grass.
Oh, my goodness.
Huge hit into the guardrail, back into traffic, turns away. Good job of him to turn away, but that car is totaled back into the racing line. Rubin with nowhere to go.
And it's not done just yet. More cars coming through. And thankfully, Patry will take the toe. Zach Rubin there as well. Man, massive wallops of hits there. No, Andrew Pilata in trouble in Sterling.
He went wide there the lap before. I think he actually put a right rear end of a grass on entry. That cost him all that time.
So then we pick things right back up with the 96. He's dropped down to the 7th spot, battling here with Peter Lausen. The whole lot of that 7th spot, in fact. Peter Lausen currently 8th.
Yeah, that lost Pilata a lot of time. You'll get back clear of Lausen. Lausen won't be able to really gain anything back. A lot of drama on that 3rd lap. A lot of big hits as well. 2 or 3 big hits, I should add. As
there's more battles.
And there's still battles. People are crashing, but there's still battles. Wotek, Hadjisek, Camden Gruber. They're trying to trade some spots. Hadjisek defending for that 10th position.
Jermaine Major just got a spot back.
Hadjisek went a little wide there. Thought he was going to slide it, but he's able to get back on track. But once again, he loses that spot back to Camden Gruber.
These races are tough when they just will not stop giving us action to look at, but it is a lot of fun, isn't it? And these are the races you want, where there is non-stop action. You don't want to get into a lull, right? But man, it really does make it tough on us. Here's on board with Wotek in the 11th spot, looking at 10th there of Camden Gruber. And maybe a little bit of calm for a moment, but those guys up front try to chase down Alessandrini. It hasn't worked just yet, so do they start to battle maybe?
I'm not sure. Alessandrini's really maximizing the track. He seems like he puts 2 tires into the grass or the dirt each and every corner, but it's working for him. Last time by, he was about 3 to 4 tenths faster than Seal and Burkhardt. Those two still single file, trying to maybe keep themselves in the fight for the top spot. This time by Alessandrini in clean air, a 131.62, and Burkhardt and Seal still tenths off. This isn't working.
You can see the best lap there for Seal in this race, just ever so slightly faster than his last lap. Tires are in their prime currently. This is where you've got to push, and they're just not able to get what they need. They're about a half second back, like you mentioned, each and every lap, and you start to put that together over the course of a lap. It was 2 seconds last lap, 2.5 now. That's pretty linear. That's only going to keep growing.
Yeah, at one point, do you just give up on the competition? You just kind of got to go for second place at this point. I think it's going to be sooner rather than later, where they realize they're not going to catch that 61 without a mistake, and you just kind of got to fight for yourself at that point.
Let's check out further back in the field. Kobach and Pilata, nose to tail here. Chrissy has started to pull away. This is for 6th.
Yep, 6th position. These drivers have pretty much been in the line the entire race. Hadjisek and Gruber kind of dropped off, but Rushing, Lausen, Pilata, Kobach, even all the way up to Herbst, who has sort of distanced himself from that battle for the 6th position. They've really been sort of tucked in a line with nowhere to go for most of this one.
Good look here as the sunset taking over Brands Hatch. Lausen and Rushing starting to get after it. In fact, Lausen just took that, lost that spot to Rushing.
It went a little wide. Camden Gruber went wide. He's into the grass. He's able to gather it up. Lausen trying to fight for that 8th position back.
And that sun glare has got to be an issue to Clark for some of these guys. Of course, well, actually, the tree's helping them out right there. And that big tower as well. Pilata maybe going to have a move here on Kobach. This could be good to Paddock Hill Bend. The Hyundai of Pilata with a big run down the front stretch.
not much positioning, but he's able to just send it deeper under braking to get that spot back from Adam Kovac, trying to make up for lost time due to his own mistake. Back up into P6 for now. Now the charge is up, trying to catch Kirby, the 89 of Kyle Herbst.
And staying in lockstep formation or pair up front, maybe just cooperating a little more. Now, at this point, you do want to just keep pulling a lead on Chrissy, maybe. You know it's going to be you two battling. Why battle now if you can keep working together and leaving Jack Chrissy and Kyle Herbst in the dust? This actually isn't too bad. I know we're talking about these two maybe considering to race. You know, they can't catch down DJ Allison Journey at this rate, but maybe, just maybe, it's more beneficial for them to stay in this order, stay in the lockstep formation, and keep pulling on the cars behind so that when they do battle, they don't have to worry about the cars behind catching them.
Don't want to leave too little amount of time to battle for that position, though. If you're Ken Halseal, you don't want to leave it until one lap and you have to pass him in one lap. You kind of have to start planning where you try to make the move and where you're trying to gain time on him to set up that move. So you got to kind of start planning it maybe around now, sort of as we get closer to the halfway point of this one. You have to start planning it out. That being said, Burkhardt did pull away from him a little bit that time, so I don't know if Halseal will have that opportunity.
On board here with Ken Halseal. Really not too many battles. I mean, there's a couple of satellite battles, almost tandems like we talked about earlier. Halseal losing a lot of time at this point, I think, to Burkhardt. That battle's likely split up. Let's check back then with Kovac and Pilata. Pilata pulling away, but Kovac still within a second, and Lauzon and Rushing. These two for 8th and 9th.
The best battle still for 13th position. Deacon Greenfield, Jermaine Major. They won't get away from each other.
Big run here for Greenfield. And he's going to take that spot easily right to the inside of Paddock Hill Bend. Maybe not easily. Jermaine Major, good run in contact.
He kind of turned in on him a little bit there. Kind of surprising the Hyundai got a really big run on the Audi, which is kind of backwards in my opinion.
It is. You expect those Audis to have that good straight line speed, as we mentioned earlier, but the Tequila Patron number 2 didn't quite get the run he needed, so Jermaine Major drops back to 13. I love that we've got the indicators on those quarter windows now, and you see that in GT3 cars on iRacing, GTLM, and P2 cars, and even here on the TCR cars. I love that iRacing is adding that to more and more cars as time goes on.
It's pretty fun to see. Definitely makes things a lot easier on drivers and
us
crew members a lot, especially us. No doubt about that.
Oh, and Camden Gruber's just had an issue.
Oh, did he? Let's see. That was a pretty big issue. Don't even see where he's gone, but he's pretty much out of the race at this point.
He's in the pit lane. Let's see if we can go back and find it for him. Here
he's all alone.
Number 24.
He's all alone in P11. Just a replay we're gonna see here. Ooh, did he get a thorn? Did he get a left rear in the grass there? He actually was able to save it there, but the tires are going to be heated up.
Sliding again through Westfield, a bit wide, and yeah, that'll do it.
That's more than a bit wide. That's a full-on miss corner, I would say, as he's going to retire.
That's out to the neighborhood outside the racetrack.
I don't know how much there is outside the racetrack, but it was definitely a little bit. Might have just been a curtain call as he was down to 11th. He had climbed up through the field from his starting position in 15th. But just not having a good run there, just a few mistakes ended up costing him.
There's race leader DJ Alessandrini working through Hawthorne, Westfield now. And he just makes it look so easy. Doesn't matter what car he drives, no matter what league he's in, he just makes it look so easy here on the sim. I'd like to see him. I got to get out to one of these Grid Life events at some point and see these guys in action. And I know a lot of them kind of have that crossover, obviously, between this group with Washington, D.C., Region SCCA, and Grid Life, and everything else Sim TV does. I have got to get out to one of those events at some point and just see this all myself.
You gotta see it to believe it. That's one of those things that, in this case, for sure, it's just so smooth, and everything he does, the steering, the throttle, the braking, just any of the moves he has to make for passes, for position, is just always perfectly calculated from Alessandrini.
On board now with Lauzon in 9th. He's chasing Rushing for 10, or for 8th, rather. They are actually both catching Kovac a little bit. We could have a three-way battle before the end of this race, and we've seen that a little bit already today. Go back to the Mustang race a little while ago. Those guys battling for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So, you know, we might have some pretty good racing yet to go, even though the field is real spread out. Even Halseal has lost touch with Burkhardt. But this is not over. There's still 7 minutes to go. We're on lap 9 of a projected 14, so still plenty to go.
Yeah, everyone using as much of that turf as you can there. Rushing and Lauzon converging on each other. Lauzon maybe close to half a second faster than Todd Rushing last time by. It's battle for 8th starting to heat up just a little bit. Could, like you said, could turn into a battle for 7th with Kobach dropping back even quicker as Pallotta is still trying to gain lost time from his slide through Sterling's. Kyle Herbst just a little bit too far up the road. They ran near identical laps last time by.
Here's a look at Kyle Herbst. He's had an exciting couple of weeks. A little bit of contact a couple of times. And certainly Kirby living up to, I think, his reputation a little bit. Spinning competitor... hang on. I mixed competition and competitors up as here we go. Battle with Lauzon and Rushing. Lauzon gets that spot back.
Yeah, Rushing went way wide through the corner there. I keep forgetting the name of that corner because it's Dingledale corner, and I don't know what a Dingledale is still, but Rushing went wide through there, maybe trying not to cut the corner, being conservative, but conservative kind of bit him there, and Lauzon's by.
You know, I broadcast for a British league, and we just went to Brands Hatch. I should have asked them while we were there. That should have been my point of the interview is, hey, what is a Dingledale? But maybe next season. I'll have to find out at some point. You know, I would like to know. A Dingledale, it sounds like it could be so many different things, and yeah, we'll just let that be.
I think Ding Dong Corner would be a little bit more fun, but, you know, each to their own.
We'll let that one marinate. Todd Rushing, 9th place, chasing down Peter Lauzon to get that spot back. And at this point in the race, certainly a little bit darker. You lose the shadows. It gets harder to pick out your braking points, your turn-in marks. You know, things are just a little bit more monochromatic. It gets certainly more difficult to figure out where you are on the racetrack, when you got to turn in and all of that. So the mistakes later in this race, not surprising.
Didn't even see. Jermaine Major might have retired from this race. He had a spin, and he has damage. So a lot more attrition in this race than we saw in the Mustangs, which is kind of surprising because the TCR has a little bit more control over these corners. But I think the fact that a lot of drivers are going wide into the grass and just getting a rear tire off can just end your race. We've seen a lot of that. We've seen at least 2 or 3 instances of that already.
Well, that's the nature of front-wheel drive, isn't it? As here we go, Morgan Burkhardt, Wide and Clark. A great opportunity for Ken Halseal, and he's going to take it. Door wide open. Halseal sails on by turn 1. No, he doesn't. Still side by side. Burkhardt asserts himself on the inside, and we'll go to Druids.
Not sure what happened there. Burkhardt maybe had a slide. Burkhardt had maybe into the final corner. He had a slide. Now he's got to defend. It looked like he had the position. Now he's got to defend for it here.
Side by side. Oh, Halseal moving over, taking that racing line, taking the lead out of this battle anyways. 2nd place. Burkhardt now going to look back to the inside for Surtees, maybe? No, going to hang on. Oh, yes, he will. Right down to the inside goes car 3.
Big send right next to the curb. Not hitting the curb, though, but just not enough grip to hold that in. Halseal, great run around the outside, able to maintain that P2 position he just gained.
Did you see how close that was off the curbing at Surtees there for Halseal? That was close.
That was pretty intense. That could have gone bad at any moment. His battle's still not going to be over because I think Burkhardt has pretty close pace. These guys have been pretty closely matched all race long. Just one mistake can cost you a position. Now Burkhardt's got to work really hard to get it back.
Far from over here. 3.5 minutes to go. They will get 3 to go the next time by the start-finish line. And there we go. Lights are on. We're into the nighttime.
Nighttime's the right time. It's going to be the right time for a podium battle here. These two on the podium are battling for their spot on it, though. Jack Chrissy, maybe he'll try to get into a fight, but still a lot of time to be gained.
Chrissy just under 3 seconds back now. And he wants these two to keep battling. He wants to keep reeling them in. Another battle on the racetrack. That's for 5th. As a flash there from Burkhardt, he's able to use that now. It means a lot more with the lights turning on. As Pallotta is chasing Herbst, they've split up by a second now. They were a little bit closer, and then I think a bad run through Clark Curve backing up that 96 car.
All right, and still trying to look at the 85 car. Kobach still dropping a little bit further back to Lauzon, but only by about a little close to a 10th. Todd Rushing falling off that battle after his mistake, because it's just going to be a 2-car battle for this 7th position if all things stay the way they are.
2.5 minutes to go. Burkhardt continuing to put that pressure back on Halseal. I'm kind of surprised Halseal got back, honestly. That gap was well over a second at one point, and suddenly the 23 just came right back alive as the tires wore out, maybe hit a plateau potentially. Really, really surprised that Ken brought that back.
It came down to a little bit of a mistake from Burkhardt. He got into the grass a little bit out of the final corner, and you cannot lose any momentum at that point in the run, especially coming out to the longer straightaway on the track, because it's just going to absolutely lose all the time you gained throughout that race, and doing that just really bit Morgan Burkhardt.
Continuing on here, we'll get 2 laps to go, this time by the stripe. There'll be just enough time for these guys, it looks like. DJ Alessandrini well ahead. In fact, he's into Clark Curve now. He is just barely going to get to the line, I think, just to make it 2 laps to go.
White flag.
I think he did.
Think it's the white flag.
Oh, it's going to be close. Potentially white flag. ATVO is still saying 2 laps to go here.
That Barney's kind of a little bit under the weather. He's waving a flag, that's for sure. It's definitely not a caution flag. We'll let him do his thing, though. This battle for second's heating up.
That is a white flag, you're right. That is definitely a white flag waving. This is the last lap then, here at Brands Hatch. Back up to that battle then. Where does Burkhardt make the move?
I don't know. He's going to have to find a way to get close enough to make a move. He's sort of missed the apex there, losing a little bit of time to Ken Halseal. He looked much better in the final sector of the track, but when you get to that final sector, you really don't have a passing zone to make anything happen, so he's got to make up all his time through this middle sector.
On board with Morgan Burkhardt. One last week at Oran Park. This week, tides have turned, certainly. This is a battle for second place. Alessandrini long gone, and I do mean long gone. Into Hawthorne for the final time. A bit wide there for Halseal, but he gets right back down to apex. I don't think there's any upsetting that 23. He has set sail.
Burkhardt's going to try to push these corners, these sort of tight corners, a little bit harder than he has been. Can't throw away everything. You're still on a podium position, whether it's second or third. Got to be a little careful here. Closes in a little bit, just not enough time to make a move.
Let's go back up front then, because race leader and about to be race winner in round number 6, DJ Alessandrini, out of Clark Curve. He's going to claim one tonight. Easy dub, it looks like, for the 61 car. At least he made it look easy. Just stellar race.
Yep, it's going to be a pretty convincing win, per usual for Alessandrini. Halseal second, fends off Burkhardt for third. Herbst is going to end up 5th behind Jack Chrissy for 4th. Pallotta, after his slide, stays in 6th position. Kobach able to hang on ahead of Peter Lauzon for the 7th position. Lauzon 8th, Rushing 9th. Multi-Cadjustek still coming around the final corner.
An all Honda top 3. Only 2 Hyundais in the top 10. And you see the Audis of Major and Gruber fall victim to a couple of mistakes. They finish 13th and 14th, and one more car to cross the line and finish up this race. It looks like Deacon Greenfield, maybe Jermaine Major as well, actually. As Greenfield should be around the bend. There he is now to finish up this race. Just waiting on Jermaine Major, and results will go official. There is the Tequila Patron number 2 car. And he's still in the forest.
The last car running on track, the only car running a lap down, Camden Gruber, Caleb Patry, Zach Rubin, Darian Taggart, their retirements for today. Everyone else will finish, 12 on the lead lap, and Major, the last one to come around, almost to the final corner now.
Properly good racing tonight at Brands Hatch. Do love this racetrack, love any time that any iRacing league adds it to the schedule. And in this case, I think it was certainly worthy of a good date here for round number 6 with the Washington, D.C. Region SCCA Virtual Racing League. Jermaine Major, the final car across the line, and that wraps it up. That makes results official this evening. Now, drivers, if you're out there listening, we will take some interviews. We didn't get any last week. I know we only have a couple of minutes here, but we'll take 1 or 2 if you guys do pop in. DJ Alessandrini with that win. Let's check out full race results here, Connor.
We'll have to see here. Once again, pretty convincing. Alessandrini, that should be, I believe, his 4th win of the season. Really, no one could touch him. He got away to a pretty convincing lead on the first lap of the race. He was able to maintain it and stretch that lead out to just about 7 seconds. Pretty dominating for him.
And a 10-point gap into this race between Alessandrini and Burkhardt is going to narrow up a little bit. I don't know the points format by heart or anything, but it's certainly going to come to... well, it's going to come together a little bit. I think it's a 4-point gap between first and second, and 7-point gap between first and third. So that could be a 3-point gap after today, headed to Mid-Ohio next week. That's going to get interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty fun. I love Mid-Ohio. Trying to look through the rest of the top 10. Halseal and Burkhardt had a little bit of a battle. Burkhardt went wide out of the final corner, just enough for Halseal to slip just on by. So that settled the podium for those two. Jack Chrissy was able to sort of charge a little bit for the 4th position after starting in 8th. Good drive for him, up 4 spots. Herbst 5th in the Kirby car. And then Pallotta, with a little bit of a slide, got the rear tire out. He was able to recover, stay in 6th. And then Kobach, Lauzon, Rushing, and Wojtek Hadjisek rounding out the top 10.
You see 11th goes to Will Robbins in the 35 car. Deacon Greenfield comes across in 12th. 1 lap down there for Jermaine Major in 13th, and everybody else takes a DNF and retires from today's race a little bit early. Camden Gruber there in 14th. Caleb Patry 15th, and 16th and 17th go the way of Zach Rubin and Darian Taggart in that order. Connor, I know it's only 1 or twice a season that I get to share the mic with you for these races, but it's certainly been a pleasure these last 2 weeks at Oran Park and Brands Hatch, and I got to wish you guys luck and the whole field luck as you guys go back stateside from Mid-Ohio. What do you expect from next week?
I'm going to see a lot of fun racing. Mid-Ohio is a very fun track. A lot more straightaways. That's going to be the main difference. You have the front straightaway. It's a little bit cool. And then going into the keyhole, you have a few more straightaways. That big, long backstretch going into sort of the middle sector at Mid-Ohio is going to be really fun. I love that section of the track. It's one of the more fun road courses, in my opinion. Sort of underrated, in my opinion. It's so fun, very racy, a lot of side-by-side action up and down the hills of Mid-Ohio. It should be pretty fun.
Well, while we're going to wrap up this evening from Brands Hatch, the evening even is not done here for Sim TV. More racing coming in just a few moments. It'll be the Road America Drivers Club of Road America. I did it again. I caught myself. I caught myself that time, but I still said it. I know. The Drivers Club of Road Atlanta, rather. Round number 5. I believe that's the finale. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Round 5?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, at Road Atlanta. That's going to be a lot of fun. And hey, we do have DJ coming in, but I do want to finish this shout out. We've got a lot of action here on Sim TV. The Outsider Racing League also for round number 3 at Atlanta Motor Speedway on Saturday, and we'll wrap back around. I'd imagine another round of the Indy Elite Series on Tuesday, and right back at it here with Mid-Ohio next week. But Connor, here is race winner in the TCR race, DJ Alessandrini.
Hey, DJ Alessandrini, you got a copy?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not much, just finishing up this broadcast. Andrew messing up a few names per usual, but here to talk about your we're here to talk about your win. Pretty dominating once again. Started on pole, got the lead on the initial start, really never looked back. Ended up being about a 6.9 second difference to Ken Alseal.
Nice.
Yes, it was very nice indeed. It was 6.845 to be exact. You got to round up to make it nice.
Yeah.
So you got to be sure.
It was almost nice.
Yeah, almost nice. But in all reality, pretty dominating performance. Just putting up laps way faster than everyone. Did you come into tonight thinking you were going to put up that big of a gap?
Honestly, I didn't. I mean, I had a kind of a crazy day at work, so I only got the 20 minutes of practice before race started. But I have a decent amount of experience at the track and other cars. And I just ran this in a really competitive league last night, the TCR car. So between just kind of having a good idea of what this track needs to go fast and having a good grasp on the car, it just kind of went together pretty easily. But man, normally I'm kind of bullshitting in the Discord and chatting with friends, and this track just requires so much that I just stayed deafened the entire time. I just had to. I knew the moment I was had any kind of lapse in concentration, I was going to dip a tire off on the outside or go for a spin or something like that. And that was with leading. So very, very, very tough, demanding track.
Very tough indeed. A lot of places you can easily go off and ruin your race. What part of a track would you say was the most demanding out of the car? Because there was a lot of tight sections where you really can't put a tire off.
I mean, on the entries to most of the corners, like into turn 4, that's an easy one to mess up. One is pretty easy to mess up just because it's easy to run wide there. And then I'm not entirely sure what the corner numbers are. Maybe like 5 and 6. Yeah, I believe they would just be 5 and 6. 5, 6, 7, 8. Basically the whole track.
I would say basically the whole track.
That's the tough part about the track, is that any part of it can kill you at any moment's notice. Everything can be going great, but you just drop a tire a little weird on entry, and next thing you know, you're spinning off and hitting something. Which I'm sure you saw a lot of the race. I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on behind me, but I know how difficult this track is. So kudos to everyone that finished. That's a really tough track, and it's honestly kind of a tough track car combo. So congrats on everyone who had a clean race and finished it out.
Definitely saw some flipping and sliding, but only one driver was able to avoid all the chaos, and it was you. Top of the board once again, 4th win of the season, inching closer to the points lead. DJ Alessandrini, congratulations once again.
Thanks, guys.
And that is DJ Alessandrini wrapping things up. We do have to go ahead and run. I know Finian's getting ready for that Drivers Club of Road America event. I did it, Road Atlanta event.
You are fired.
Oh,
You're fired.
man.
Kyle will hear about this.
At least I'm not talking bad about Watkins Glen or Road America or something. I think I've got that going for me. But we will wrap up here. Thanks to everybody for watching this evening. Thanks for the support, continuing support here, obviously, for Sim TV. And thanks to Kyle for having me along, even though I keep doing that. Road Atlanta, Road America, same thing. I don't know. But Connor, thanks for joining me this evening. Stellar job as always. Best of luck here just a little bit with Finian. And Finian, you're still a little bit weird in my book, but you're always a good guy. It's been a great night. Thanks for having us, and we will see you next time.